Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about a guy who wants to go to Mars, build robot armies, and just got promised a payday with, get this, 12 zeros. That's right, we're talking about Elon Musk. So the question on everyone's mind is, how does one person even get promised a potential trillion-dollar payday? I mean, that's a crazy number. To figure that out, we actually need to go back to the beginning. So who is this guy really? Well, his story doesn't start with some fancy business plan. Nope, it starts with a video game. Okay, check this out. At just 12 years old, he's sold the code for his very first video game. Fast forward a bit, and by 32, he sells his company PayPal and walks away with around $180 million. Now, what's really wild is what he did next. Instead of, buying a private island, he poured almost all of that money into two ideas that seemed impossible at the time: electric cars and sending rockets to space. This quote from The Economist really just hits the nail on the head. For Musk, it's not just about making money. It's about taking on these huge, world-saving missions, like something straight out of a comic book. And these are his big three missions: fighting climate change with Tesla, making humanity a multi-planetary species with SpaceX, and even connecting our brains directly to computers with Neuralink. To achieve goals this massive, his supporters say you need a massive incentive. Which brings us to that trillion-dollar question. So let's talk about that paycheck. Because recently, his most famous company, Tesla, made a decision that pretty much shattered every record in the book. The shareholders, those are the people who own a piece of Tesla, had this huge decision to make. And in a historic vote, more than 3/4 of them said yes to the biggest pay package ever. That number is just so big, it's almost hard to comprehend. $1 trillion. If this deal fully pays out, Elon Musk would become the world's very first trillionaire. To put that into perspective, if you've spent $40 every single second, it would take you almost 900 years to go broke. It's just insane. But here's the catch. He doesn't just get a giant check. He has to earn. Yup, to get that $1 trillion, he has to complete what a lot of people are calling an impossible to-do list. So this is his list. He has to make Tesla way, way more valuable than it is today, sell millions and millions of cars, and even get 1 million robo-taxis out there on the road. Basically, for him to get his payday, he has to change the world. Again. This whole thing comes down to something called key man risk. Think of it like a band. If the lead singer quits, the band might not be as good, or it might even break up, right? Well, Musk's supporters say he's the lead singer of Tesla, and they need to do whatever it takes to keep him on that stage. And as you can imagine, a deal this huge has started a massive, massive debate. So here's the big debate. On one side, you have people who say Musk is the reason Tesla is so successful, and this deal is what keeps him motivated and focused. On the other side, people are asking if anyone really needs a $1 trillion bonus, especially when they're already the richest person in the world. His supporters argue that without Musk's relentless drive, there would simply be no Tesla. They really do see him as the heart and soul of the entire company. But this quote really captures the other side of the argument. In a world where a lot of people are struggling just to make ends meet, is it right for one person to have so much wealth? It's a really tough question that a lot of people are asking right now. But, this deal is about more than just the money. For Musk, it's also about power and control. Musk has basically said this isn't just about the cash. He wants more control over Tesla's future, especially as it dives deeper into artificial intelligence and, in his own words, builds a robot army. He wants to make sure he's the one in charge. And that's a really big deal because he's already one of the most powerful people on the planet. He controls a huge chunk of the world's internet, the rockets that go to space, and one of the biggest social media platforms out there. This deal just adds to that incredible influence. So as he continues on this mission to solve the world's biggest problems, the amount of control he has over all of our lives just gets bigger and bigger. And all of that leaves us with the ultimate question. With all this power, all this money, and all this influence concentrated in one person's hands, will his world-changing ideas do more good than harm? That is the $1 trillion question that everyone is trying to answer.